Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. For the headlines. Melbourne's lockdown restrictions ease as cluster of new infections now under control. Australia implements restrictions on regional travel. Delays in vote counting slows Moresby Northwest by-election results. Adelaide ranked as world's third most livable city. Townsville's Umbrella Studio features Australian artist Donna Benningfield. And Solstice Winter Festival takes over Sydney's central business district. We'll begin with the COVID-19 updates in Australia. The surge of cluster cases in the state of Victoria instigated the extension of a lockdown. However, the restrictions implemented are now at ease as cluster cases are under control. Eagle News correspondent Patricia Madronio has more details. Patricia?
Last week's incident of a nurse becoming infected with the COVID-19 virus and working in both the Epping Private and Northern Hospital was possibly infectious caused Melbourne to undergo its fourth snap lockdown since the pandemic began last year. On the 17th of June at 11:59 p.m., with the number of new cases decreasing to just one, of whom was a close contact of the infected in quarantine, the lockdown restrictions were able to be eased and Melburnians were able to breathe a sigh of relief. While the conditions have not yet returned to the relaxed coronavirus procedures previously implemented, Melburnians are now able to travel throughout the state from within the CBD to regional areas outside of the previous 25-kilometer limit. This is just in time for the many residents who were planning on visiting the snowfields and partaking in some skiing during the winter's snow season. Visitors, however, must have a negative COVID-19 test result within 72 hours of traveling. Other ease conditions in Melbourne include the reopening of gyms and indoor entertainment venues, increased density limits of dining establishments, and removing the mask requirement for outdoor activities where social distancing can be maintained. Additionally, the Victorian government is ensuring that vaccination efforts are maintained, with over 80,000 vaccines being provided to Victorian residents per week. Although some restrictions are still in place, the efficient response of Victorian health officials and the Melburnian public allowed for rapid control over the rise in cases in the last week, and Victorians are hopeful that they are well on their way to no locally acquired cases and relaxed restrictions once again. Reporting from Gold Coast, Australia, I am Patricia Madronio, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Patricia. We are relieved to see the control of the virus. The non-compliance to lockdown measures pressured governing authorities to issue travel restrictions within the country. Travel passes and declaration forms are now in discussion for the states and authorities throughout Australia. Our Adelaide correspondent, Rejoice Dilau, will tell us more. Rejoice?
As winter school breaks are approaching, families are once again preparing for a trip to spend their time leisurely. However, due to the rise of COVID-19 outbreaks in different areas, planning for a safe getaway is ever more crucial. Here are some places where you can and can't travel in Australia. In Western Australia and New South Wales, arrivals from all states and territories except Victoria do not require a permit to enter. A G2G pass registration and a health screening is still required in order to enter Western Australia. In Victoria, travellers from anywhere within Australia are required to have a permit to enter the state. To enter South Australia, travellers must complete a cross-border travel registration form prior to their trip. Those from regional Victoria must complete a COVID test and self-quarantine. Travellers from Greater Melbourne are not allowed to enter South Australia. Similarly, Queensland has also prohibited anyone who has been in Greater Melbourne to enter the state except for those who are travelling for essential purposes. Meanwhile, a travel declaration form must be completed 3 days before entering the state. In Tasmania, Australian Capital Territory and Northern Territory, strict rules are being implemented to travellers from Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland. Approval to enter some states may depend on their close contact to COVID exposure sites. For more details on each state's travel restrictions, travellers must consistently check news and websites for a safe planning. Though certain places have returned to some normalcy, Australians are advised not to be complacent and must always practice COVID safety. In the coming school break, civilians are all the more reminded to follow the rules implemented in order to have a pleasant and safe vacation. Reporting from Adelaide, Australia, this is Rejoice Delau. Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Rejoice. It is comforting to know the government's plan to combat the spread of COVID-19. Now heading to Papua New Guinea, the Moresby Northwest by-election has experienced electoral delays in the release of its results. We will learn more of this story through Eagle News correspondent Angeline Rabuya. Tell us more, Angeline.
The news surrounding the ballot counting of Moresby Northwest or MNW by-election is alarming. The Electoral Commission is having a hard time announcing the official representative for the Parliament's vacant position. As of this report, loyalists, supporters, relatives, and friends of the candidates who vied for the election were gathered in front of Sir John Guy Stadium, the main precinct where ballot boxes are being counted. Other precincts are Ben Moterea Church Hall, Administrative College Hall, and Ben Moide Murray Barracks. They built makeshift tents and made the front gate of this stadium as their temporary home whilst the votes were counted.
Well, actually, the vote counted for Northwest, especially us in Guerrero. We encountered some issues, but hopefully the right candidate will win. Well, actually, counting is going slow because when we went to stand in a queue to go into the gates for the polling booths, it took us approximately around 5 hours to stand there. And especially some of the people walked out and went home, you know. So by that time, I don't really know, but to my understanding, hopefully the good, candidate can win and stand for the people in Northwest. Actually, there's a downfall because through the census that were going from house to house, some of us, especially like myself, my name was in the common roll, but actually my families went in the common roll. So I prefer in this 2022 election, hopefully the census should move out in all the communities or in Port Moresby and around the nation itself to get this common roll updated, because especially some people like me, we didn't have our rights to vote because our family were not in the list as well. Yes, for the government, Mr. Marape and the team, please address this as soon as possible because the next election is coming in. As for myself, as a PNG citizen, I would like that to be enforced as soon as possible, please.
Authorities and concerned citizens urge the Electoral Commission to find remedy for the faulty equipment or find a reliable and speedy way to validate vote tallies to produce immediate results. There were also complaints about individuals from another electorate trooping in to vote again using other people's name. Due to this problem, they suggested to the government that each legitimate voter must have a PVC-made ID come next election. Though the counting of the ballots is proceeding at a slow rate, The citizens are still maintaining their hopes that this election is a sign of good governance. Reporting from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, this is Angeline Mauricio Ribuya, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Angeline. We are hoping for the success of this election. After the break, we will learn why Adelaide is ranked the third most livable city in the world. Plus, join us as we visit Townsville's Umbrella Studio, featuring the works of Australian artist Donna Benningfield. And we will witness the Solstice Winter Festival as it takes over the Sydney Central Business District. All these stories when Eagle News International Australia-Oceania returns. Stay tuned.
This program is supported by China Bank. Your success is our business.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights. Sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News International Australia-Oceania. Now in South Australia, the 2021 Global Livability Index list has situated Australia on the map. Adelaide in particular is ranked as the third most livable city in the world. Once again, here's Eagle News correspondent Rejoice Dilau to tell us why. Rejoice?
Every 2 years, the Economist Intelligence Unit creates a list known as the Global Livability Index that recognizes and ranks the most livable cities across the world. Out of 140 cities around the world, Adelaide, South Australia was ranked the third most livable city in the world for 2021. Additionally, the Economist Intelligence Unit recognized Adelaide as the most livable city in Australia. Since the last Global Livability Index in 2019, Adelaide has made a significant improvement in its ranking from 10th place in 2019, increasing its rank by 7 spots. The highest ranking Adelaide has achieved was in 2015, placing 5th on the list. The number 1 livable city was awarded to Auckland, New Zealand, followed by Osaka, Japan, and then Adelaide. 3 other Australian cities were included in the top 10 most livable cities, including Perth, Melbourne, and Brisbane. The Economist Intelligence Unit began gathering data for the Global Livability Index between February 22 and March 21, 2021. Each city is ranked based on 5 categories: stability, healthcare, education, culture and environment, and infrastructure. Adelaide was able to achieve a score of 96.4 for infrastructure, 95 for stability, and 83.8 for culture and environment, and a perfect score for healthcare and education. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit, what made a significant impact in the scoring and ranking was the responses for the COVID-19 pandemic. The global average livability score decreased by 7 points in comparison to the average score before the pandemic. Numerous cities were affected, especially in their livability scores due to the pandemic, particularly the European and Canadian cities. New Zealand and Australia made the top 10 of the Global Livability Index because of the strict border closures and strategies to handle this unexpected predicament and resulting in the removal of restrictions. Cities like Adelaide were able to reopen restaurants and entertainment facilities and safely conduct festivals and sporting events, enabling its citizens to enjoy and live their normal lives. Adelaide's ranking in the Economist Intelligence Unit's Global Livability Index has emphasized its reputation as a safe, accommodating, and sustainable city. South Australia's efforts to prevent the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic has enabled the removal of restrictions, resulting in a better quality life for its citizens and improvements to help the city prosper and make it more livable. Reporting from Adelaide, Australia, this is Rejoice Delau, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Rejoice. Indeed, Adelaide is truly worthy of that ranking. Heading now to Queensland, Townsville's Umbrella Studio proudly showcases Donna Benningfield's exhibition on her well-renowned portraiture that will emotionally touch the viewers. Eagle News correspondent Morgan Goodfellow will walk us through. Morgan?
Donna Benningfield, a local Townsville artist, has proudly presented her latest artwork, A Question of Counterpoint, at Townsville's Umbrella Studio, an exhibition that dives into past lives reflecting the present. Home to many upcoming and aspiring artists, the Umbrella Studio hosts a variety of unique artworks, constantly updating their gallery each month. A Question of Counterpoint, which is on display from the 28th of May until the 4th of July, is an evolution of portraiture, an art style that Donna has devised herself, labelled expanded portraiture. In Donna's previous exhibitions, she would usually paint her sitters just as they were presented in front of her. Wanting to fascinate the idea of her art, Donna began to personalise her portraits by implementing and illustrating possible previous unknown lives to her subject, bringing to light an expression in portraiture that could never be seen before. Captivated by the idea of expanded portraiture, I sought out Donna Benningfield herself to further explain to me her unique and obscure philosophy. Let's look at what she had to say.
So the idea of the expanded portrait came about when I had an exhibition in Perth Tucker in 2019, and I had the whole ground floor, so I did something like nearly 40 portraits, and there were some really big works in there. And at that point, everybody was recognisable. So if you walked in, you would be able to see yourself in the painting. And that's what you would kind of expect from a portrait. And I got a lot of feedback saying that they were interesting works, and look, to be honest with you, most of them sold. So the people themselves really connected with the work, which was great. But I thought I've got to do something more than that. So what I then did over the next couple of years, well, actually I started this long before that exhibition. So this last exhibition I started working at, maybe 3 years ago. And I contacted people that I'd previously already painted. So many of the people in that last exhibition, I have already got to know them quite well and established a lovely rapport and connection with them. So I went back to them and I said, would they like to be part of a new body of work I'm doing? It would be a new portrait, but they would no longer be recognisable. And for, it was kind of like, oh, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, that means that you have to be involved in the art process itself. So I largely picked people that weren't artists that are people that just know nothing about art, and for them to have an art lesson with me because I'm an art teacher, they kind of thought, oh, that'd be great, yeah, oh, yeah, I don't mind that. So people sort of come along for the ride because they think it's just going to be a fun or an enjoyable experience. They don't quite know what they're getting into until they start, and then I create an experience for them, basically. So that's the idea of expanded portraiture, is that it's been expanded beyond. Photographers do it a lot. So instead of the person being in the work, some other aspect of them is in the work. And so for me, it's capturing other aspects about them.
A truly inspiring and revolutionary artist, Donna Benningfield is constantly crafting her curiosity, showcasing her talent as often as she can. If you happen to be in the area, be sure to check out this inquisitive display of expression. Reporting from Townsville, Australia, this is Morgan Goodfellow, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Morgan. For sure, this is worth a visit for tourists and locals alike. Moving now to New South Wales. With a vibrant array of events and activities, the Sydney Solstice Festival celebrates the many works of art, now installed across the central business district. Let's hear more from Eagle News correspondent Shane Reyes. Take us there, Shane.
For 2 weeks, Sydney will be the home for the latest project backed by Destination New South Wales, the Sydney Solstice 2021. This event will be happening from the 8th of June to the 20th of June and will stretch across multiple suburbs from Sydney CBD to Newtown in an attempt to help boost the economy as well as reviving the life in the city. The winter solstice will be centered on 4 main hubs of entertainment over the inner city that will include many activities for visitors of all ages. New South Wales Minister for Jobs, Investment, Tourism and Western Sydney, Stuart Ayres, has said, "Sydney is a city for all, and so we want to see people of all ages come into the city and use it like it's designed to be a place for cultural experiences." Through the assortment of food, music and artworks that will be present during this event, this will help portray the cultural diversity that is here in Sydney. There are various activities that have also been set up to draw in larger crowds to revitalize the city life. To mention a few, there is a harbourside ice skating rink and a moonlight kayaking tour that will loop around the harbour, allowing patrons a first and unique experience as they glide past old naval warships. The Australian National Maritime Museum has also set up an inflatable installation that consists of colourful and immersive artwork for public interaction. There are also workshops scattered around Darling Harbour that will allow visitors to have new experiences and expand their interests. Patrons can also sit by the water to enjoy the fireworks display that is set to light up the Sydney night sky at both 7:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. These many activities have been set up in an attempt to revive the nightlife in Sydney, as well as a step towards recovery for all businesses and the economy. With events like these being backed by the New South Wales Government, it is a step forward to regaining normality within daily life. Reporting from Sydney, Australia, this is Shane Reyes, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Shane. What a magnificent sight to enjoy this winter season. And that concludes today's program. Thank you for watching Eagle News International Australia-Oceania. Join us again next time as we share more stories from our bureaus across Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. Visit our websites on eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on twitter.com/eaglenews and facebook.com/eaglenews. Stay strong, stay safe and take care everyone. From Sydney, Australia, I'm Armelyn Martin, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Factual.